Hey, sorry.
You popped that door open, so I just...
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I just wanted to keep the air in here. Just trying to get this. I got to wear a gown today, but I don't want it to rustle the mic, you know.
Oh, I see.
So I think.
Oh, because you're going to the abdomen. So.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's just because I'm really got to lean in today, so I don't want to be worried about my arms and stuff
at
like.
least it's not too hot today.
Yeah, well, that's why I opened those things up as soon as I got here. Let it air out. It wasn't crazy, but it would get hot in here, you know. So it's.
Close it, right?
Huh?
As soon as you close the door,
Yeah. And it's the only reason it's not sweltering in here is because it's just not hot outside. It's definitely not because the AC is working any better. Yeah, I went live already, so you can see if anybody's on there, and we'll see how this goes. Let me see if I have. I think I got this other drawing. I did load up. You'll see the first picture on there is the abdominal vasculature drawing, so we're going to point to that one a little bit. And I should be able to, yeah, okay, I do have a copy. All right, so I can hold it up under the screen too, which is what I'm going to do. I just want to put that up so they see which one to get, and then we'll hold up the picture. Let me get my camera up. Where did I put it? Here it is. All right, just let me know if anybody's on or anybody responds. All right. I submitted your thing, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I just like to make sure. I think I did, but then I don't hear anything.
You don't have to think about that.
All right. Cool. Okay. So we'll see how this goes. It came out good. Like we were here yesterday, we dissected everything. Everything is good. The only issue is that the coloration in here is a little dull.
Yeah.
So it's a little hard to pick out, like against the background. Like, am I seeing that? You know.
Yeah.
The other problem is that his veins are like they're tissue paper. I mean, we'd be really careful because like anything we did is like you start ripping the vein, like and just trying to dissect around it. You're like going through the vessel walls, like just for whatever reason. You know, actually everything in his abdomen, it's a good abdomen. There's nothing wrong, but everything is kind of more delicate than it normally is. Like even the intestinal walls, like everything, it's kind of like I can be a little careful with it because normally I can just like move things around, no problem. But here it's like I gotta be a little more careful because things are just tending to want to tear and rip a little bit. So it's whatever. We'll see how this comes out. Probably gonna have to play with the brightness a bit.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see. And hopefully I'm going to try to stand in such a way that I'm not shadowing anything. So hopefully I can get things positioned correctly, and then I can kind of step away and kind of show it like that. We'll see. It's going to be a little tricky. We were practicing yesterday a little bit, my wife and I, so I think I can do it. This is the trickiest part to show on the camera is this vasculature is hard to get it just right, you know. So we'll see. We got anybody? We do? All right. All right. Good morning. So you guys are going, we're going to, can you just throw it up on the screen real quick? Just turn on that thing. Yeah. So you'll see this drawing that just popped up on the screen. If you go into Canvas under the lab module, you will see a JPEG I think it's called Abdominal Vasculature. I'm pretty sure that's the one that it is. Or some abbreviation. It might be ABD, Vasculature, JPEG, something like that. You'll see it on there. It's right with those digest ones. Digest 2, 3, 4, 5. There's this particular drawing. You're going to want to pull this down and have this available. It's not 100% necessary for you to have it right now, but boy, does it make it a lot easier for you to have this available to you right now. I am going to be putting this up under the screen as well to kind of key you into what part of the drawing we're going to want to look at, but it really, really helps if you have it. All right, can you just turn the white balance on and off real fast because there we go. Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, just get rid of that yellow tinge. Okay, so we're going to be in the abdominal cavity. We are mostly going to do abdominal vasculature. today, but we are also going to see the couple of things that we couldn't see last time, which is namely the pancreas and the kidneys. Those are the main two things that we couldn't see last time that we're going to do today. Outside of that, it's just going to be vasculature. So I will tell you that you are going to have to go back and watch this a couple of times, especially with the drawing and just to be able to get everything. It's tight. It's not that the vasculature did not come out well on him. It did, but the colors in his abdomen are a little muted. And because of that, you're not seeing the contrast that you would normally see between the different types of vasculature that you're going to see and like the organs and the fat. It's just not, everything is kind of blending together because it's all kind of, the colors are muted and dull. And that just makes it a little harder to see what you need to see. So just kind of keep that in mind, and it's going to mean that you're going to probably need to spend a little bit extra time on this. Now, so I'm going to be holding up this diagram here. So this is that same thing that you guys have, all right? And I'm going to be kind of here and keying you into, I'll be pointing to something on here and then showing you where it is in the body. And I'm probably going to be holding this in line with how it is on the body. So you see here, we can kind of lay this over the body, right? And the liver is going to be upper left like it is, I'm sorry, upper right like it is over there. Spleen is going to be upper left like it is over here, right? This is going to be superior, this is going to be inferior, and that's the same exact way we're positioned here. So, and if I do need to switch sides, which I will on certain things, then I'll make sure I hold the drawing in the proper way, okay? All right, and the other thing I realized, and I think I just remembered this this morning, is that I did post up the links to the quizzes and everything, so hopefully some people have taken a look at those. Again, if you have any questions about the quizzes after you've taken a look at it, definitely hop onto a help session or ask for an additional help session, and I will give you any, answer any questions that you guys have about that stuff. But what I forgot to post up, and I'm going to do as soon as we're done today, is the link to the video opening up the cranium and taking out the brain. So remember I said I did want you guys to watch that, and I would ask a question or two on the practical, and I believe I forgot to post up a link to that. All right, so I will get that today. If for any reason, this afternoon hits and you guys don't see that video or don't see the announcement updated, please text me and remind me to put up a link to that video. I'm going to really try to remember it as soon as we're done, but just in case, you never know. I get scatterbrained sometimes, and it's not intentional. So definitely make sure that I post that up so that you guys have access to it. All right. Just grabbing my tools here. And I got to get the bungees in here. And then I think we're good to go. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about what has changed between last class and this class. So I had to cut a few things. We had to change the position of a few things. And I want you to understand what we did from last time to this time. And then that way, you guys can go back, watch last lab and this lab, and you can kind of compare and contrast, and you'll really be able to see it. All right? Especially if, what I would recommend is if you're having trouble visualizing what I'm about to show you, I would pull up last lab and then the recording from this lab and kind of put them in two separate windows side by side with each other and get to the same views, right? You can kind of pause the video in the same spots so you can see the same thing, and then you can kind of go back and forth and see what is different between last time and this time. All right, let me just grab some paper towels, and then I think we're good to go. All right, and I might need to mop out the inside here a little bit. We're going to see how much fluid is collected, but kind of see how it goes. All right, I'm just kind of getting in here and just do a quick little once through to make sure everything's looking all right. Don't have too much fluid. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Not too much. A little bit. I'll have to wipe this out just a touch, but it's not bad. All righty. So let's get that there. Let's get this abdominal flap out of the way. Right, so we got our bungees in there. Let's get everything arranged just right here. Okay, so let's see. I want to just change this view a little bit. Something like that. All right. All right, so I'm standing here on the left-hand side. So I'm looking in on the left. So again, this is superior, this is inferior, right? This is the right side, this is the left side. You can see the inferior margin of the rib cage. There's the xiphoid process sticking out there. You're looking up underneath here. This tissue I'm pushing against is the underside of the diaphragm, right? We can still see that round ligament of the liver there and the falciform ligament. You can see the liver here, right? If we lift up on the liver, we can see the gallbladder underneath there, right? We got the stomach, we got the omentum, right? So this is our first position. So you're going to note now when we're looking at this drawing, okay? And again, this is all going to relate to talking about what has changed between last time and this time, and also being able to orient yourself to this reference drawing, which is going to help you a bunch. So let's look at the... There, is that what they're asking? Yeah. If everything that I will post for you guys, everything is under that one announcement that I created at the beginning of the semester. So if you go on to the announcements on Canvas and what did I call it? Lab resources or something like that. Yeah, well, we're going to check it right now. You just go to courses, summer 2021. Right. I want to make sure it's as they go to announcements. It is, scroll down a little bit. Lab resources, yeah. The announcement called Lab Resources, which is the only announcement from me. It's only just one. I'm trying to not flood you guys with announcements. I'm just updating that one. So if you guys go to that announcement, scroll down, it has the link to every lab we've done, every extra thing that I told you that I would link to, except for the cranium one, because I need to hit that, and all the quizzes that we have so far are all linked up there. So that's where you're going to get them, under the announcements, okay? All right, so looking at this drawing, the one that I want you guys to pull down under the lab modules, and again, this abdominal artery drawing, right? And now you have additional drawings that are in your handouts, which you can use as well. This one is kind of one I've come to like a little bit better, and you're going to see why. So if you're looking at this drawing, this drawing is relatively to scale, except in this direction, like this. It's a little elongated this way, all right? And you can see that we have these dotted lines in the drawing. And the dotted lines are telling you how do you have to have things positioned in order to see whatever is here, right? So you're going to notice that if we go above the first dotted line, it says the stomach and the greater omentum are down, which is where we are now. Here's the stomach, here's the greater omentum. Both of those things are down in their normal position, right? If that is the case, if everything is down, we can see this stuff. Liver, spleen, things going there, that's what we can see, right? If we go below this dotted line, then you see the next thing it says is the stomach is reflected, all right? We reflect the stomach, we can see these things. And I'm going to show you all this in a second. Then we go to the next dotted line, and the greater omentum is now reflected. So that means we've reflected the stomach and the greater omentum, and you can see this, right? And then if we go below the last line, you can see that now the small intestines are also reflected, right? So now it's the stomach and the greater omentum and the small intestines all reflected, and then we can see this stuff, right? So this is telling you position. And as we're going through, I'm going to be very clear in what I'm moving here. All right, so let's talk about those different positions. And I'm going to put the body into those positions, and then we're going to kind of see how things are a little different. So right now, if I lay it just like this is, if you did a side-by-side with last lab, this looks exactly the same as it did last time, right? You can't tell any differences from this particular view. But let me show you what is different. One thing is that now the stomach is no longer attached to the greater omentum. So last time we had the greater omentum, which was this stuff, right? And we had the stomach here. And those two things, they moved as one piece because the greater omentum was attached along the greater curve of the stomach. Now that's not the case. So now we can take the stomach by itself and we can reflect the stomach like that, right? So you see the greater omentum stays, we can reflect only the stomach now. And that was the first thing that I said that we would reflect in that drawing. And you're going to note that once we reflect the stomach, what is that going to show us? It's going to show us where the pancreas is. Okay, once we get the stomach out of the way, that's where we're going to get to the pancreas. All right, and let's just take a look at that right now. And that is that guy right there. See if I can grab it. See this that I'm moving back and forth there? That is the pancreas. And notice how that would be behind, see? Behind the stomach. So in order to see the pancreas, we need to reflect the stomach out of the way, and then we can see the pancreas there. We're going to get a zoomed-in view of this in a little bit. I just want you to note that that's one structure that becomes visible when we reflect only the stomach. All right? So we got that. That's the first change. Next change is here. So we're going to take now the greater omentum and we're going to reflect it. And notice that the stomach's going to go along for the ride, right? So we're going to reflect both of those things. Stomach and the greater omentum, both of them reflected like that. And when we do that, let's just hold up that, that greater omentum again. And you can see down and move it down a little bit that on the underside of the greater omentum is the transverse colon, right? And that was what we kind of saw last time. So we reflect up that greater omentum. We've also lifted up that transverse colon, okay? And now everything else is down, right? The omentum's up, everything else is down. This would be the next part of the picture that we're going to see. And let me just rearrange things a little bit like that. And let's try to make sure that this doesn't move here. So hold on one second. I got to get a pair of forceps on this so it doesn't fall back down on us. There we go. All right, just hold that up so it doesn't come down. So right now, again, omentum's up, small intestines are down. Last time, all we saw here was mesentery, right? Here's that mesentery again, right? And in this area, all we saw was mesentery. But now, hopefully you guys can see that we have vessels in here, right, that we've teased out. So we opened up the mesentery to expose the vasculature that's contained within it, right? So you guys can see all of this that I'm lifting up here, right? All these vessels there. You can see some more. Move this over a little bit. You can see some veins over there. These are arteries there. So we see a whole bunch of vessels and a whole bunch of branches, right? So you're going to note this picture. We can only see this stuff when the small intestines are down and the greater omentum is reflected. All right. So I don't remember if I talked about this last time about what the mesentery actually is. But basically, the mesentery is like a fat sandwich. All right. So here's the mesentery going out towards the small intestines, right? And I'm just going to get my hand underneath here. And what you're going to note is that the mesentery consists of peritoneum, right? So this is visceral peritoneum here, right? And then if we cut through the peritoneum, we'd have fat. And then if we pick through the fat, well, we're going to have vasculature. Then we go through the vasculature, and then we'd be on the other side, and we'd have a little bit more fat, and then we'd have another layer of peritoneum, right? So it's basically two layers of peritoneum with fat and vessels kind of sandwiched in between, right? That's what the mesentery is. And look, if we hold this up to the light, see all the vasculature, see all that looks like tree branches and stuff in there and roots, right? That's all of the branching of all the vessels in there. Those are arteries and veins and nerves all bundled together traveling through that. So you can see how much is in there. Just if I hold it like that, you can see that pretty good, right? Right? Kind of doing like a light box thing here, right? So every loop of the intestines are going to look like that. It doesn't matter where. See, pull it up. It's all, look at all that vasculature, right? That's what's in the mesentery. There's more vasculature in the mesentery than there is anywhere else in your body. And the vast majority of the time when you guys are not exercising, the bulk of your blood is sitting here in the mesentery. This is like your reserve tank. And then when we start exercising and we need additional blood going out to the muscles that are active, that blood is going to come from the mesentery. It's going to get diverted from here and go to where we need where the active muscles are working, and then when you're done exercising, the blood's going to divert back into the mesentery again. All right, so this would be that next view. And again, the only thing I changed here was I cut through, and you can see like here's the edge of the mesentery. I kind of opened up the mesentery a little bit, like you can see here. Here's the peritoneum, right? That would have covered that stuff that we kind of peeled out of the way so that we could see these vessels a little bit better. That's the only thing I changed here, is just to open up the mesentery. All right, and let's get to the last view. Now, last time, once the greater omentum was up, the only thing we could do with the small intestines was to push them over to the right-hand side or move them over to the left-hand side. That was all we could do. We could kind of hinge the intestines back and forth like this. And what was the anchor point that prevented us from moving the intestines any farther? It was the root of the mesentery. It was the spot where the mesentery was anchored, right? Now, when I talked about that, that was where we showed the root of the mesentery, and I showed you where the ascending duodenum was coming out from underneath the root of the mesentery, and then we had that jejunal flexure going to the jejunum. We had that picture that we spent a little time on, all right? So let's show you what that looks like now, because I have cut the root of the mesentery. It's no longer attached, right? But I'm going to recreate this as if it was still in place. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take all the small intestines and we're going to push them over that way. All right, so we're going to grab this stuff. We're going to get the small intestines up and over as much as we can. Well, not as much as we can now, but at least as much as we could have last time. And we're going to kind of pin this down. So let me get that out of here. I'm going to grab, and this has got to go, there we go, like that. And let's grab the root here, there, right? So here's the root of the mesentery. This was pinned down last time, right? This was anchored here, and that meant that none of those intestines could move over that way any farther because of the root of the mesentery, right? So, and notice if we kind of leave this here, kind of, whoops, let's see if I can clip this in. Oh, come on. Something like that. Let's see if this will stay. Yeah, like that. All right. So I'm going to hold the root of the mesentery down like that, right? This is where I snipped it. And right here, right? See if I kind of grab here. This is where we had the ascending duodenum. You can see it coming from underneath the root here, right? Ascending duodenum. Jejunal flexure, right where it was pinned down right there, right? That was the anchor point. And then turning into the jejunum here, right? This is all jejunum that I'm holding up here, right? So that's that same view that I showed you last time. The only difference is I need to put my forceps on there and hold the root of the mesentery down like this, but I can recreate that picture that we saw last time, all right? And if I ask you anything in this area, I would do this. If I wanted to ask you the root or ascending duodenum, jejunal flexure, jejunum, I'm going to put the body in this position. I'm going to say, hey, listen, remember this thing that we cut? I'm going to kind of put it back into place like that, and then I would proceed to ask you questions around here. So make sure you know this particular view. And if you compare it to last time, the only difference is see all this peritoneum that I'm holding here, the root of the mesentery, that continued out over this whole area, and I've now peeled all of that off. Right? So this was all kind of covered up with peritoneum last time. Now it's not. Now we can see some other things in here that we're going to go over. Right? You can see some vessels here and stuff that we're gonna go over, but this would be that view. All right. Now, on your drawing though, remember the bottom of it. Leave that just so it's probably not going to stay, but right here we have all the small intestines reflected, and in order to do this, we needed to cut the root, which is what I was just showing you there. Right. So let's show you how we're going to put the intestines if we want to look at the vasculature here. Right? So instead, if I hold it in that position I just did, that's going to be a question about the root of the mesentery or things located around that. If it's a question about vasculature, I'm going to take all this stuff and I'm going to move it up out of the way. So let's get the small intestines back the way that they were. Let's drag everything back in. over here. Let's get everything looking the right way here. And let me get everything back where it's supposed to be. Something like that. All right. So small intestines are back. Whoops, it should be in the body. Right. Small intestines are kind of back the way they should be. Right. If I want to look at things that are under here, the small intestines are going to get reflected up here on top of the greater omentum instead. So we're going to take the small intestines, we're going to drag them straight up like this, like that, and get everything up and out, right? So now we have this nice picture where most of the intestines are up and out of the body, and now we can see everything that is located down here. Now, what you want to note is, obviously, with the root of the mesentery intact, we wouldn't have been able to see any of this stuff. But we peeled all that off. Everything is up and out of here. All of the peritoneum is peeled off of these areas, right? So what does that show us? Shows us a couple things. And again, I'm just helping you get your bearings here for now. We're going to re-go over all this from the top down, just so you know what to expect here. So you see this big thing that I'm moving here. That is your abdominal aorta. Right? This is the abdominal aorta right there. And notice, and actually I could clean that up just a little bit more. And this is where I'm also going to see some little spots where I might need to do a little bit of cleaning just to get that picture a little bit more crisp. So let's open this up a little bit, just so we can see this better. Just want to get the edge of this. There we go. You out of the way. And let's get you opened up. Sorry, this is just where you think you're done, and then you see it on the camera, and I realize that it's maybe not as clean as it could be. So I really want you to get these really nice pictures. This would be a lot easier if you guys were here in person. The vasculature, especially abdominal vasculature, this is probably the hardest thing to convey on camera, but that's better now. All right, so look at this. And you see this picture, you see the abdominal aorta coming down, and then look at your drawing. I'll kind of move this up. See the same thing? Here, right? There. See how we can correspond those things a little bit? All right. And then right next to that, so here's that abdominal aorta, and then you can see it splitting. And then right next to it, you can see, let me move this out of the way, you can see this guy doing the same thing, right? See if I lift this up a little bit. See this guy that I'm moving around. And here again, this is where I see I could clean the edge of this maybe a little bit better, so you can see it better. Just define the edges a little bit more. And this that I'm cleaning the edges of right there, that is your inferior vena cava. Right? So this is the inferior vena cava, that's the main vein. And then notice that the vein is splitting the same way. All right, we're going to see a drawing of that later. So in addition to this drawing, abdominal arteries, right, you're also going to want your handouts, because we're going to look at the abdominal veins, which you have a drawing for in your handouts, and the portal drainage drawing, which is also in your handouts. You're going to need those two things, although we're going to get those later, and I will hold them up onto the camera too when we get to those. All right, so we can see these two main vessels, abdominal aorta, inferior vena cava. We can see those with the intestines out of the way. We can also now see kidney. All right, I'll stand that up a little bit. So there's one of our kidneys over here. So again, that was retroperitoneal. This was all covered last time by peritoneum. Now we've peeled that peritoneum off, and we can see kidney on that side over here, right? And you guys can see the kidney over on this side as well, right there. That guy moving around. So now the kidneys are uncovered, which last time we couldn't see them because they were retroperitoneal, but since I've cut the peritoneum, there is no separation now between things that are peritoneal, all the stuff we had last time, and things that are retroperitoneal, which is all this vasculature, the kidneys and stuff, right? So we can see all that. All right, so that at least gives you a general, like, kind of lay of the land, like how things are going to be. Let's go back and let's hit all of the vasculature. So we got to move all the way back to the first position. And now for a lot of this stuff, I'm going to be zooming in and out a little bit to give you a better picture. So I'll stay zoomed out so you can at least see where everything's located. Then we will zoom in and I will show you some of the actual individual things. So first thing we want to do is put the small intestines back down, okay, which we can see here. Then we're going to take the greater omentum and we're going to put that back down, okay, like that. And then the last thing we have to do is we have to move the stomach back into place because it's not attached to the greater omentum anymore. So we get that stomach back down like that. All right. So now we're back in our initial position. Okay, so let's take a look at our drawing and let's start identifying the vasculature. So we are going to start on arteries. We're going to do all the arteries first. We will see some of the veins as we're doing the arteries, and I will point them out, but we will do the vein drawing after we are done with the arteries. So I will point out some of the veins, but don't worry about flipping back and forth to the drawing. Don't worry about that right now. You'll see later on. I'll be able to bring it all together. All right, so we want to be, this drawing, again, it sits like this, and we're going to be with the stomach and the omentum down, which is what we have here, and we're going to be looking up in this area. So let me zoom in a little bit, grab my probe, and look at where we want to start. So right in this area. This right here, see this main vessel? That is your abdominal aorta. We're not going to see it up here because it's covered up by too many things. We're only going to see the abdominal aorta where I showed it to you down here. That's where we're going to see it, not up here, right? So in this area, we won't see that. But what we will see is this branch right here. See, this branch is coming off the anterior side of the abdominal aorta. It comes up, and it's going to split this way and this way. It makes a T side to side. Here's the T. There, there. And that T is going to be the celiac trunk. That's what CT is there, celiac trunk. These terms will be up in the chat, right? Celiac trunk coming up and then splitting into your common hepatic artery, which is this one, and your splenic artery, which is that one, right? So we're going to look for this T right there. That's the landmark we want to find first. Let's find that. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to move up and zoom in on this area. So in order to see this stuff, where are we? We're going to be in where the lesser omentum was. So in between the lesser curve of the stomach, right here, and the liver up there. So we're going to look up in this area. So let's move up. Let's zoom in a bit, kind of like that. That's good. All right, and notice how now we can see the stomach a bit better here. Right, now there's a little bit of air in the stomach, and that's from us having done that coronal section last time and opening, when I cut a hole in the back of the pharynx, right, and showed you where the esophagus was and stuff. As soon as we cut a hole in that, we allowed a bunch of air to get in, and now it's kind of worked its way down into here, so that's why this is a little bit blown up, right? So we're going to be up in here. So let's get this stuff down out of the way, and this is a trick we did yesterday to hold the liver up out of the way because it's going to block our view. So we are going to do something like this. Whoops. I think I used a different probe. Hold on a second. Where's the? Oh, here it is. This guy. Let's see. My wife came up with this yesterday. Let's see if I can make it work here. Whoops. Get up in there. She was able to do this no problem yesterday, and I'm not able to do it. How did she get that to stay? Maybe we'll just do that. Good enough. So like this. Come on now. Nope. Oh boy. All right. She was able to hook this under. Sorry. Tried this yesterday and I was able to do it. Now I'm not getting it. Let me go the other way. Maybe I'll do this. Going like that. Just keep it. No, it's still flopping down on me. His liver is very floppy. Doesn't want to stay up. No, I need you to do the brightness and stuff. What am I going to do here? Am I going to get this up and out of the way? Hold on a second. Boy, this is so easy yesterday. What am I doing wrong? I'm not doing this properly, and I can't figure out why. It's kind of like this. Should come in from an angle, maybe. Just this. We should do that. Hook it in there first. Come on, get out of there. Nope. It's not really working either. Well, maybe just. That might actually work. Let's see. Let's come out a little bit. Get in there a little farther. Nope, I took it out. Crap. Sorry. Let me figure this out. Take a second. I have to be able to hold this liver up out of the way, otherwise we're not going to be able to see anything up in here. And now we got all sorts of fluid coming out. So if you guys can see like how yellow that is bile. All right, it's coming out of the gallbladder because the gallbladder got nicked. And you'll see something that we broke when we were doing this. So now all the bile is leaking out of the gallbladder and staining everything. So not a lot I can do about that, but fun times. All right, how the heck am I going to do this here? Maybe if I just clip it, I'll just do that. Let's see if that works. All right, let's try this. Let's just clip the liver up here. Like that. Just get that, hopefully stay. That might work. This might be all right. Now the question is how is that going to stay up like that? All right, we're going to do this. Get on there. Come on now. Oh my goodness. There we go. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, got it. Nice. Now we're good. Sorry about that. We're in business now. That worked better. Just need to get that pesky right lobe of the liver up out of the way. So we need it to be up against the diaphragm. Perfect. This is actually, that will work. All right, nice. So we got the stomach down. We're looking in where the lesser omentum would be. And we want to find that T. So let's pull this up here. Let's see if I can get this guy here. Something like, come up a little bit. Something like that, right? So you guys can see that T there pretty well. See, I'm moving it around, right? So I'm holding on this side, the side that I'm moving here. That is your common hepatic artery. The one I'm moving on this side, that is your splenic artery. And that bit in between, you can see I'll hold it up right there, right? This part here is going to be your celiac trunk, right? So you can see, let me hold it up like that. You can see that T pretty well. So common hepatic, splenic, and then that bit in the middle there going down, celiac trunk, right? So hopefully you guys can see that that is the same. And if I lay it down like that, just come in a little farther here. There we go. And if I, whoop, come on, stop shaking. All right, see if I lay it down like that, you can see the T there, and we're gonna lay it down so you can see the underside of it, right? So there's the celiac trunk, common hepatic, splenic, right there, and that matches up to your drawing, okay? Now, if we follow, so we just saw this and this and this. If we follow splenic artery, eventually we're going to hit the spleen, and that's fine. And that goes, remember, the spleen is like way down in there. So we're not going to see the spleen unless we pick it up. So this side, this splenic artery that I'm grabbing here, see how it dives down deep there. So it's going underneath all this stuff to get to the spleen. We're not going to see it connect to the spleen. We're not going to see that. And then notice that as we go over towards the spleen, you see this B prime. Now, the reason I have A prime, B prime is because this would match up to your handout drawings, just so you know that they are corresponding to each other. But you don't need to look at those right now. You can just stay on this. But notice how B prime, if we follow this down, makes a loop all the way around to right there. Okay, see that? See that loop? We're not going to see where this part of the loop emerges because we're not going to be able to see where splenic enters into the spleen. It's just too far down there. It's too hard to get to. You're not going to see that. But we will see this side of the loop. And what you want to know is that this loop of artery, where does it run? Right here, along the greater curve of the stomach. Okay? And then notice up here we have another loop. See this? Right there, where the A and the A prime are, where does that run? Along the lesser curve of the stomach. So the stomach is in between these two things right here. Okay, and we have a loop of arteries and veins that run around this side and same thing around that side. Okay, so we're going to be pointing these things out as we go. But I just want you to know that this right here is the only part of the drawing that we're not going to directly see, is where the splenic artery enters into the spleen and where this artery branches off, which you can see is called a left gastromental artery. We're just not going to see this. Everything else on the drawing we're going to see directly except for that. All right, so coming back here, you can see we got splenic going that way. We have proper hepatic going this way, right? And let's follow that over. So let's follow proper hepatic over like that. And we're going to look for this T where it's going to go up and down. See, celiac trunk T side to side. Common hepatic artery here, T's up and down. And we want to find that. And that's going to be common hepatic splitting into proper hepatic going up this way towards the liver, and this one, which is called your Gastro Duodenal artery, going down towards the duodenum and the stomach. So let's find that. All right, so we go back to the T here. So that is celiac trunk, splenic, common hepatic. Now we're going to follow common hepatic over like this, and we're going to have this right here, if I can grab it. See that? And I think I'm auto-focusing this thing, and I don't want to. Sorry. There we go. Got to reach in around the side and not trigger that autofocus. A little tricky here. There we go, like that. So you see how we got a T going up and down now, right? Like that. So here is common hepatic coming over, splitting into proper hepatic artery and gastroduodenal, right? So you can see it makes like a T there, up and down. All right. Just going to get in a touch closer here. All right, let me get over, I think, to the other side. It'll be a little easier to not trigger the autofocus here. All right, so now we got that T. Now what we want to do is follow proper hepatic, if I can grab it, proper hepatic up towards the liver, right? So we want to follow this guy up that way. Now let's take a look at the drawing again. And hopefully I'm not too close here. Yeah, there we go. So now we're going to follow proper hepatic here up, and we can see it split into your left and right hepatic arteries. So proper hepatic splits into left and right, and if we follow the right-hand one over, we'll see a little branch right there, which is your cystic artery, which is going to go towards the gallbladder. So we want to follow proper hepatic up and see this split. Then we want to follow right hepatic, and we want to see that there. And this is the only thing I'm concerned about showing up on camera. I did dissect it, but we're going to see how this shows up. But this part we can see pretty well. It's just that I'm not sure of. Yeah, what's up? We got a question?
So,
Courtney? So B prime connects to the pancreas and A prime connects to the hepatic artery. hold off on that, Courtney. I'm going to go back to those A primes and B primes. We haven't hit that yet. So once I do, then if you still have a question, ask it. But I will clarify that. So I'm avoiding those loops for right now because I want to hit everything else first so we know how to talk about the components around those loops going around the stomach, and then we'll go over the loops. All right, so just kind of hang tight on that for a second. And I know this is like, this spot is the worst spot. What we're starting off with is the worst of everything we're going to do today. This is the worst spot. So just bear with me for a minute. And then if you still have questions, then definitely ask them. But for right now, just kind of hang tight for a second. So we're going to go up in here, and we're going to follow that proper hepatic artery up like this. And let's see if I stretch this all out here, like this. Boy, and the coloration is just so bad here. I don't know if we're going to be able to make this out or not. Wow, that is not good. Huh? It was bad anyway. It didn't really matter. Hold on, let me just see if I can kind of dab this stuff. Maybe a little. Hold on a second. Sorry, I just want to try to get you this picture. And if it's no good, then there's just not a lot we can do about it. I'll just make adjustments and stuff, but let's see. Let's see if we can get this. You stay up there. Right that way. Right, let's see. If I lift up right here. Can we see that now?
Yeah. But it's all the same color.
Just trying to get it to focus down there. It doesn't want to focus. Let me see if I adjust the camera position a little bit. It's focusing on the wrong spot. That's the biggest problem right now. Let's see if I can get it. Focus here. There. That's better. All right. Let's see. Now I think we can see it. Right. Hold that up right there. All right, there we go. Now we can see it, right? So we got the proper hepatic is here, and then we follow proper hepatic up, and we can see them holding where it splits. And this is your left and your right hepatic arteries. Okay, so again, in this position, let's see if I can go right back to where we were. So we can see the T there, right? We're going to follow common hepatic over. Then we can see where it splits there, and that is Gastro Duodenal going down, proper hepatic going up. We're going to stay on proper hepatic here. There we go. And then we're going to come up here, and we can see it split into your left and right hepatic arteries. All right, I think that was a little bit clearer that time. All right, now we're going to see in the last bit, let's see if we can follow right hepatic over. Yep, and we can see it right there. Ooh, that was good. Maybe not quite so much. Yeah, there. No, up a little bit more. That was, yeah, leave it there for a second. I don't know. Is that too washed out? It's just adjusting too much.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good. Right about that's good. Right there. That's good. So here is that right and left hepatic, right, that we're holding here. So we're going to follow right hepatic over. And if I go like this, you see this right here. There, right? This is still right hepatic. That branch right there is your cystic artery. So let's just kind of, whoops. God, hard to not autofocus. Ah. That's all right. I'll just leave it down for a second. I think it's all right. Don't worry about it. You know, you can, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. I don't think. Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. So we're just going to say right here, we can see it better. Maybe like that. don't worry about pointing out cystic. I'm not going to be able to get it just right where I'm going to be confident on the practical that you're going to know what you're looking at. So cystic, just note that we have that branch that's going to be going, oh, and I just lost the liver. All right. Would be going over towards the gallbladder. I'm not going to be able to pick it out there. But so the last thing we will be able to see here will be these two guys, like that. So we can see right and left hepatic. We will go up to right and left hepatic there because I think I can show you that pretty well and you can see it, but not cystic. So you can kind of cross off cystic. I'm just not going to be able to get that picture up. And you see that we lost the liver here. Let's try that again. Oh boy. Oh, this is a pain in the butt. Get up there. There we go. All right. Got the liver up there again. All right. So, like I said, it's just a little tough to see all that stuff, but you're going to have to watch that a couple times. I will make sure on the practical that I get you into that same exact spot. And just so you know, I'm always going to give you context on the practical, meaning I would say, I would have the camera zoomed out a little bit, and I would say, okay, we are starting here. So you go, oh, okay, he's holding up the celiac trunk and the two things off of that. I would say, I'm starting here. I'm going to lay this down, right? So you can see it like that. I want to follow this side over, and this is where you need to know, okay, he's along common hepatic. Then right here, we're going to right here, we're going to T up and down there, right? So we're going to follow this guy over until it T's like that. Then we're going to follow this one up until it splits like that, and then I want you to identify this one or that one. Okay? That's how I would do it. So just note that as long as you know where you're starting, so if you can see that initial picture and know we're looking at celiac trunk, and then you can kind of follow along from there, you'll be able to pick out everything. I know this spot is tight, all right? I'm well aware of that, but just make sure that you are using the video, noting that I will be showing you the exact same positions, all right, for this stuff. Okay. Now, going back to our drawing. Let's get this on here. All right, so going back to the drawing. Now we want to talk about, we're going to start with this loop right here, this loop. So notice that we have A prime and A, right? And it's just, this is to correspond you to the other drawings. You can just use this drawing if you want. It's fine. Then you don't have to worry about those A and A prime. It's just to show you how it corresponded to the other drawings that we have. All right. So here we want to see that we got the celiac trunk, and then coming off of the top of the celiac trunk, we have this branch here, which is going to be your left gastric artery. The left gastric is going to loop around this way, going towards the lesser curve of the stomach. That is going to join with this branch right here, which you can see branching off of your proper hepatic artery, and this is going to be your right gastric. Now, on this drawing, I have that it was broken because in that particular body that this was referring to, it was broken. It's not broken on this one, all right? So you see how that forms a loop. So we got this guy, and we got that guy, and they meet in the middle, and they form this loop along the lesser curve of the stomach. So let's find that. And I think we have a good picture of this. So let me get this. You know what? I'm going to have to, we just got a little pocket of air there. Let me get rid of that. There we go. All right, let's take a look here, see what we can see. So here's the celiac trunk again. Right, there's the celiac trunk. Now I'm going to lay this down, and coming off of the top of the celiac trunk, let me just lay that over there. So there's the T, right? There's the celiac trunk, and then look at this guy. If I can grab it. Oh boy, come on now. There we go. You see how that's branching off of the celiac trunk there? So you see if it was up like this is like your drawing, right? You see that coming off the top. And look at how it loops over here. See this? Can we see that, Alex?
Yeah.
Right? And if we follow that, look at how it connects. See? If I hold this up, can we see that kind of going through, right? It goes through, and I cleaned this up as best as I could here, but you can see how small this guy is. I'm afraid I was going to break it. So, but here's that loop that we're holding, right? So this is left gastric coming around this way. So this side, I'm holding up left gastric. That's where it branches off of the celiac trunk there, right? And then as we follow that around, it becomes right gastric over here. And where does right gastric branch off of? Your proper hepatic artery. So watch this here. So again, there's the celiac trunk. We lay that down. Oops, get off of there. Lay that down. We got common hepatic here. Common hepatic goes and it splits into Gastro Duodenal and proper hepatic. So I'm holding proper hepatic here. Right? And then look right there. There's that right gastric branching off of proper hepatic, and that is going down around the lesser curve of the stomach. Okay? So hopefully you guys can see how that matches here and there, right? And it forms that loop. So you want to know that loop goes around the lesser curve of the stomach, and depending on which side it's coming from. So the way I would ask that is I might say, all right, let's just zoom out just a touch. We're a little too, so I want to see the stomach a little bit better. There we go. All right, so if I spread this out, all right, so we can see the stomach pretty well, right? And I might say something like this. I might hold this up and say, okay, you see this loop here? I want you to identify these arteries, right? This loop. And you can see that loop is running around this side of this, right? So I point to the stomach, show you the lesser curve, say I want to know what these vessels are called that run around here, right? And I want to know what it's called if it's coming from this side, this way, like that, or I want to know what it's called if it's coming from this side over here, right? And that would be right gastric, this one, because I'm over on the right-hand side, and that would be left gastric there, and then we can kind of see how they would join together and form that loop. I know it's not the cleanest picture in the world, but that literally is the best that we can do, all right? So again, pay attention to how I'm showing it, and that will key you into what I'm asking about, especially if you have the drawings out in front of you. All right. Okay. So let's follow this down a little farther. So now we got the celiac trunk, we got this loop, we got this guy, we got this guy, we got stuff coming up towards the liver. We're done with all that. Now what we need to do is follow common hepatic down this way. So we're going to follow Gastro Duodenal going down, and we can see that we have a split right there. We have a branch going towards the pancreas, which is going to be your pancreatic coduodenal artery. And then the rest of it continues around the greater curve of the stomach. And that is going to be your right gastro-omental artery. And again, that loop would come around and join up with the part coming off of the splenic artery, which we're not going to see. But we will be able to see this part here. And this is also where we're going to really identify the pancreas again. All right, so we want to follow this down, here, here. Now, note, watch what happens here. Look at as we follow gastroduodenal down. What does it do? It passes this dotted line. That's telling us that in order to see this part here, we need to reflect the stomach. All right, so once we pass through that dotted line, we reflect the stomach, then we can see that stuff. And that's what's going to happen right here. So, look at this. All righty, so here, let's just get this stuff kind of, get the stomach back where it should be, kind of like that. And again, let's start at celiac trunk. So we got celiac trunk there. We're going to follow it this way. This is common hepatic artery. Then we're going to grab that T, which is right there. Now I have gastroduodenal. And if we follow this guy down, right, it's going to pass underneath of the duodenum right here. Right? So here was the pyloric region of the stomach. There's the pyloric sphincter. Here is the duodenum, the descending duodenum, and this guy right here, you can see it passing underneath here. So if we want to see where this goes, we got to move the stomach. So we're going to take the stomach and we're going to reflect it up and out of the way. So I'm just going to kind of tuck this. I'm just going to flip it up. That should be good enough for us to be able to see, I think. Do I need to have it up like this? Don't know. Do I need this? Is that going to block us too much? I think it might give us a better picture. Just kind of stuff it up out of the way here. Let's see. Or we're going to try it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, we got a question?
I think, yeah, so Courtney's asking if the image is mirrored. I think she just means like.
Yes, yeah. The way it is right now, that's why I'm always going to tell you which way is right and which way is left, Courtney, because there's nothing we can do about that. The way the camera works and the way it comes out to you, yes, rights and lefts are not going to appear the same way that they are, necessarily on the screen. So I will always tell you when you're looking. So you were here, right? I'd say this is the right-hand side. This is the left-hand side, right? This is top. This is bottom. And if that changes, when we reorient the camera, I would then reorient your perspective there. All right, so yes. So this is where you're going to want to hold. And that's why I'm holding the picture up, right? Because I'm holding the picture up the way the body is. So you see how this side is right side, right? And this side is left side. But that's exactly the same way it is here, right, left. So that's why I'm corresponding the picture. So you're going to want to hold the picture with respect to your screen the same way I'm holding it up on the camera. And then that will give you the perspective you need. So again, that's why I keep on putting the picture up so that you guys can see how it's oriented and what direction you should be holding stuff based upon how you're looking. Okay? I know it's tricky. I know. Hopefully that helps, Courtney. Okay, so let's come back here. So here was that T that we were looking at before, right? So here's Gastro Duodenal. So let's follow down Gastro Duodenal. And let's see what we can see like this. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so here is, and I'm going to need to get the edge of the pancreas a little bit better. So let's do that first. So here's the pancreas. That's what I'm moving around here. But it's still got some stuff attaching to the top of it. So let's just clean the edges of the pancreas a little bit better here. And again, this is the stuff that I just can't tell if I did it good until we actually see it on camera here. And I'm seeing it that I could have done it a little bit better. So let's fix this up. So let's get that out of there. This guy out of here. And get these little guys off. That. Okay, so that's a little bit better. So you can see the pancreas, what I have here, right? So what you want to note is that the head of the pancreas is over here, and it's attached to the underside of the duodenum. So look at if we put the stomach back down, right? Here's that pyloric sphincter. Here's the pyloric region of the stomach. There's the descending duodenum right there. So it's, look where my finger is pointing, right there. I'm going to leave it in place, and that's right where we just had the head of the pancreas. See, head of the pancreas is attached to the underside of the duodenum right there, right? So the head of the pancreas is over here, and the tail of the pancreas is going down this way. So you can see this whole long thing is the pancreas, and the tail of the pancreas is pointing towards the spleen, which is over here. So we want to note that once we reflect the stomach, we can see the pancreas here. Now that's going to be our giveaway for the vasculature here. So let's get back to those vessels, right? And we had, again, we were following that T that we can see right there. So here's gastroduodenal. I follow down gastroduodenal and look at right here. It's not showing up great, but hopefully you guys can see right there. Maybe if I put my finger behind it. Oh boy, this is like a bad angle. There, you guys can kind of see that fork there, right? Trying to give you, there you go, a little contrast. like that. So you see how it splits? So the branch that's going away from my finger, right, towards the tip of my finger, that is going here, towards the pancreas. All right, that's going to be pancreatic coduodinal. So it's going to be that little guy right there is going down here. The other side, this bit that I'm holding here, that is going to go up this way. See here? Towards the greater curve of the stomach. See, I'm holding the stomach here. See if I put this down, right? You see these vessels that I'm grabbing there? Right? You guys see that? There? These are your gastroomental arteries. And they are coming down and they're running around the greater curve of the stomach. So you can see I kind of grab it. See these vessels that are moving right there? They would go around the greater curve of the stomach. So that is going to be your gastroomental artery. Now you're going to note is that since we're coming from the right-hand side, right, this would be right gastroomental, coming up and around that way. Again, the left gastroomental, if we follow that loop all the way around, kind of put this down, sorry. We follow this loop all the way around that way. Eventually, we'd run into the spleen over there, and that would be where the left gastroomental is coming off. So again, we're looking at this loop here, this loop, and we just saw this little bit right here. We could see the pancreas and pancreatic coduodenal, and then right here, which was right gastroomental, going around the greater curve of the stomach from the right-hand side. Okay, so again, you're going to have to watch that a couple of times. Know that I will always start from the celiac trunk and kind of have you follow from there. You're just going to have to watch this a bunch. Me saying it 10 more times is not going to help you. You need to pause and rewind it and go back. All right. Again, note this is by far what we just did. The worst part of everything that we're going to do today. The rest of this is going to be significantly easier to see and follow along with. All right. So, worst part is behind us. Now, let's move down. So, next thing we want to see is we got all this stuff done. We got the loops done. This is where we want to go to next. And note that in order to see this stuff, we need to have the greater omentum reflected. So we've already reflected the stomach. Now we're also going to reflect the greater omentum, and that is going to expose that area there. And you're going to see, we're going to see this superior mesenteric artery branching a whole bunch of times. All right. So let's reflect the greater omentum. Let's get this up and out of the way. And actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's zoom out just a touch. We're a little too close. There we go. All right. So we had already had the stomach kind of pushed up. So I'm just going to let the stomach kind of go up there where it was. We're going to take the greater omentum and we're going to reflect that up and out of the way here. Like that. And look at this picture we expose. And it looks just like your drawing. See this coming down, and you see how it's branching a whole bunch of times. All right, and then look here, and you see this a whole bunch of times. Okay, that is what we're seeing here. Just gonna get this down. Perfect, and we'll get. Let's see here. I don't know if I can. To stay. Yeah, let's pin this up. Hold on one second. Just gotta pin this up a little bit. Get this up on there. Come on now. Get up here. Let's see if that'll stay. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. So here is your. Whoops. This guy here is your superior mesenteric artery. So we can see that there. And then we can see all the branches. Now note that next to it here, right next to it, and we'll just pull this down a little bit so you can see some of the branching, just a touch there. That is your superior mesenteric vein. So we're going to have a vein and an artery right next to each other like that. And again, the vein is going to be branching exactly the same ways as the arteries. It just happens under the arteries. So again, I can't peel this down a little bit, but the veins are going to be doing all of this underneath the arteries. All right, but you can see them side by side. So we're going to follow the artery first. Right, here's the superior mesenteric artery. Now, looking at all the branches, you can see them pretty good if I spread them out. You're going to note that we have a bunch of things here. Everything going this way, over towards the left-hand side, these are going to be jejunal branches. The things going more like down this way are going to be ileal. We're going to have an ileocolic branch going there. We're going to have a right colic branch, and we're going to have a middle colic branch. And the way you're going to identify these is to note what part of the intestines are they going towards. That will tell you what the name is, right? So any branches that touch the jejunum, jejunal. Any branches that touch the ileum, ileal. This branch that is ileocolic is going right towards the junction of the ileum and the cecum, right? Right colic, anytime you see colic, has to do with the colon. So the right side of the colon is going to be the ascending colon. The middle part of the colon, the middle colic, is going to go up this way, transverse colon. Okay, so those are all the parts of the intestines this is going to hit. Jejunum, ileum, the junction of the ileum and the cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon. And you can see how the names would correspond there. All right, so looking here, just following your picture, right? That means that all of this stuff, see, this guy here, 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 all these guys are jejunal because all of this stuff down over on this side of the body, I'm standing on the left again, so down to the left, all the small intestines that sit over here are all parts of the jejunum, right? Then we see we got this part here, this guy, coming down here. Now this one is going to branch a bunch of times. I just didn't get it cleaned up quite far enough to see all of the branching, right? But you can see a little bit of it there. Right? See it start to branch? See here, right? All that would go towards the ileum, which would be all the small intestines that sit a little bit more down and to the left, right? So jejunal branches, ileal branches, and everything that's going to come off of that. Then we got this guy. You see this one coming down here? That's going to be your ileocolic. And what I would do is say, identify this, and I'll show you where it goes. And I would hold this up right here, right? Let's get it on camera there. There we go. So I'm holding the ileum. Here's where the ileum meets the large intestine, the cecum, and let's do that. That's better. A little bit more on camera. Ileum meeting the cecum, and look, if I grab the junction right there and I pull this out, see how this guy is making a beeline right down towards that spot. So that would be ileocolic. Ileocolic going down that way, right towards the junction of the ileum and the cecum. Okay, so you guys can see that. Then, let's move back up just a touch. All right, and then we got this guy here. See this branch coming up here? That branch is going to come up, 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 and we can see it continues over this way. But what you can't see, and I tried to clean this, we were just starting to rip the vessels, is right here, there are some branches going up here. You can see it a little bit there, like right here, all right, coming up that way. This branch here is going to be one that comes off and splits into middle colic branches going up that way, and your right colic branch going over here towards the ascending colon that I'm kind of holding up here, right? You can see if I grab that part, see how this, see, going right towards it, okay? And then if we just slide up a little bit, this is that greater momentum that's reflected. Here is your, what I have my finger behind here, here's your transverse colon, right? So, and again, this is the only spot that did not show up well. But right here, we have a couple of branches that are coming up this way. up that way. Those would be middle colic branches because they're going there. And again, it's just not a great picture of that there. So we can see this coming off. It would split into middle colic and right colic. Now, sometimes you may have a right colic branch off separately, and then this would just be middle colic. This just happens to be a combination of the two. So a branch that comes up that splits into middle colic branches going up here, and a right colic branch going over here. So again, you're going to note that I'm going to show you where it goes. I would point to a branch, and then I would point to a part of the intestines. So either using your drawing, or knowing what the different parts of the intestines are and where they are will help you identify this area. So it's not too bad. It lays out with your drawing pretty nicely. Shouldn't have too much trouble. Okay? Now, next thing we want to do is get down here, and that's where we're going to have everything reflected. So we already have the greater omentum reflected. Now we're going to get all the small intestines up and out of the way. So let's zoom out a little bit so we can kind of see this happen a bit. And again, you can see how this particular part, and it's such a shame, this is my favorite part. Doing the abdominal cavity is my specialty, and it's my absolute favorite part to do, and it is the worst part to do on camera, unfortunately. There's just so much to see, and you're just missing so much of the depth and everything that you would get if you were here in person. So this is one area that even if you get this, if you get this down and you feel like you understand it, you definitely need to come back in person and look at this. It's just totally different being here. All right, so let's actually that can all stay. All right, let's grab the small intestines to get these up and out of the way. So again, we're going to go straight up with this. I'm going to grab all this stuff, bring it straight up and out of the body, up as much as we can, all up and out of the way. All this up and out like that. All right, so now everything's out. Now, again, we can see that abdominal aorta again, and we can see where it ends and splits right there. And again, notice how that matches up to your drawing really well. Abdominal aorta, we can see where it goes there, right? And then next to it, we said we can see this darker thing. That's the inferior vena cava. And you can see if we move the inferior vena cava, we move the aorta out of the way, we can see the inferior vena cava doing the same thing. So you want to really quickly note that the lighter colored vessel that's a little bit more on the left-hand side, abdominal aorta, the darker colored vessel, it's a little bit more on the right-hand side, inferior vena cava. Right? So again, top, bottom, left, right. Right? So aorta, vena cava there. We can see those two. Now, let's go back to your drawing. So the next thing we would be able to see once we get the small intestines reflected would be the renal arteries. Renal arteries. So we can see they're branching side to side right off the abdominal aorta. And where do they go to? Anything that's renal is going to go to your kidneys. So that'll be the giveaway there. So we're going to find these two branches going towards the kidneys. You'll have a right and left renal artery. Now, what you're going to note is that the renal veins cover the renal arteries. So we have to identify the renal veins first, then we'll move them, and then that'll allow us to find the arteries. So let's shift a little bit, kind of like this here. Just want to get a little bit better picture. There we go. Let's try something like that. There we go. All right, so let's find this. Just get some of this stuff out of the way here. Get up here, that off like that. Let this guy kind of fall down that way, and we'll see how well. All right, a little bit messy there, but here's that inferior vena cava. Here is your left renal vein. You can see coming off here, and I'm holding the right renal vein there. Okay, just have some stuff sitting on top of this, and there's just not a lot we can do there. Actually, this little guy is getting in our way, so let's let's cut this guy. This is something I kept that would be kind of cool to show, but we can't keep it. So let's get him out of there. Let's get this down a little bit better. Kind of like that. There we go. All right. So again, inferior vena cava, left renal vein, right renal vein there. Okay. So notice how this left renal vein goes over the top of the abdominal aorta right there, right? So in order to see the renal arteries, we need to move this guy out of the way, which is the left renal vein. You can really see if I move the kidneys. See how that renal vein's going over there, and I'm moving the kidney on that side, and you can see the renal vein going over there, right? So those are the veins. So we're going to take left renal vein and just lift it up out of the way a little bit, and that should expose a nice picture of the renal arteries. So we're going to lift this up. If I can, like that, and hopefully you guys can see those renal arteries there. See that guy? And if we come over on this side, whoops, not him. It was hard to do on camera. That guy right there. So this is your left and your right renal artery. Is that clear, Alex?
Yeah, but it's a little bit far though.
A little far away. So again, that left renal vein would be covering over that stuff. If we take that left renal vein and we lift it up, is that better? Right and left renal arteries. And again, you can see that if we move the liver, or yeah, the liver, we move the kidneys, we can see those things. See, we're going down there, and you can see it come out right there. See? So that's the vein here. You can see that's coming off the vena cava. That's the artery right there. You can see coming off of the abdominal aorta. All right, so that's right and left renal arteries. Note that they are typically, what do we have to move to see those arteries? And that's going to be this left renal vein. And that is normal. The veins are here in this particular area are always going to sit on top of the arteries. So you have to move the veins out of the way to see the arteries. So that's typical. Okay, let's move down a little bit. And the next thing we want to find, oh, did you turn the focus? Yeah, can you just put the autofocus? Yeah, that's right. There we go. All right. So, oops, here we go. Boy, I'm in the wrong spot. There we go. All right, so we found the renal stuff. Now we follow down the abdominal aorta, and we're going to look for the gonadal vessels. And look at how small they are. Little tiny guys going here. And gonadals, what are they? Depends on whether you're in a male or a female. So if we're in the male cadaver, we're going to say these are testicular arteries. If we're in the female, we would say they were ovarian arteries. So testicular or ovarian, it just depends, right? So you can say gonadals just being more unisex about it. All right, so these will be right and left testicular arteries. And again, on the practical, if you want to say gonadal, you can. We're going to say testicular here because we know we're on the male. All right, here we go. So we're looking here. We're going to grab this guy like this. There's a bunch of extra stuff on here. Hold on. Come on, get out of here. I left a little bit of extra fat on there so we can see better. But you see this, what I'm holding here. So we have this bundle here. And look how we have two things coming together. You see this and that there, right? These are your gonadal or testicular arteries and veins. So this is your testicular artery. We can see it branching right off the abdominal aorta there. And there is your testicular vein. And it's coming right off the vena cava. See it right there. And that's going to go down, down, down. Over on this side, if I get that autofocus off, it's going to come down. It's going to exit the abdominal cavity and go out to the testicles right there. So that's those two. And then on the other side, coming over this way, it's going to be these guys. And let me grab this right there. That, right? So you see this, what I'm holding here. This is your left testicular vessels. And notice right here, you see these guys? See that little guy right there? That is your left testicular artery coming off the aorta right there. See, there was the right one. See how they're near each other? That's the right one. That's the left one. And then right next to it, we have the left testicular vein coming off of your left renal vein there. All right, so we can see those two guys, and we follow these down, 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 and they would exit the abdominal cavity and go to the testicles on the other side. All right, so those would be your gonadal ones. All right. Next is, we got these. Next is this guy here, and this is going to be your inferior mesenteric artery. So we did superior mesenteric up there, which went to lots of your intestines, right? Inferior mesenteric is going to go all of the parts of the intestines that superior mesenteric did not cover, right? And that's going to be inferior mesenteric coming down, splitting into your left colic, which would go this way towards the descending colon. Sigmoidal branches going to the sigmoid colon, and rectal branches going towards the rectum. So we're going to find this and look for these couple branches. All right, so look in here, and I'm just going to zoom out just a touch. We're a little too close. I know it helps sometimes, but sometimes we lose context by going too close. Okay, so here we're looking for a branch coming off the front of the abdominal aorta, and it's going to be this guy. Oh boy, right there. All right, see how that's coming off the anterior side of the abdominal aorta? That is going to be your inferior mesenteric artery. And then we got a nice, and sorry, let me just open that there, like that, and we should be able to see 3 splits there. Now just put my finger behind it, like that. Is that better? There we go. You see how it's splitting into 3 major things there? And just the way your drawing was, left colic, sigmoidal, rectal. All right, just the way that your drawing shows it. So left colic, this guy is mostly going over towards the descending colon, which is over here. You can see I can kind of see, grab that part of it, see it coming over this way, right? Sigmoidal, that is mostly going towards the sigmoid colon, which is all of this, remember, right? So we had descending colon. When it turns right here, we have the sigmoidal flexure to sigmoid colon. All of this, this, and then sigmoid colon drops way down there and to the rectum down there, right? So those would be where these guys are going to go. All right, so again, we have inferior mesenteric splitting into 1, 2, 3 things. First one, left colic. Second one, sigmoidal. Third one, rectal. Right? And then this will branch, obviously each one of those will branch a whole bunch more times. All right, so we got that. Now, we're getting there. We're getting there. Everybody's doing good. We're almost there. Now we come down a little farther. Abdominal aorta is going to split. We've seen that already. And it's splitting into your common iliac arteries. And this is going to be your right and left common iliac. And that we can see right here. Just going to move this over. Nice picture, easy to see. Abdominal aorta, right, left, common iliac. Okay? And again, on the practical, I will frame this for you. But one thing, and we'll talk about this when we meet before the practical, one thing that you can ask is just to reframe the picture. You could say, hey, can you just show me, you know, which side's right again, which side's left again? That kind of stuff you can ask, and I will show it again. So you can put it up in chat, and I will go, oh, okay, here, superior, inferior, right, left. I will do that. I will do it every time I move the camera, but if anybody needs that additionally, I will do it. And a lot of times in the question, if I know it's something that involves rights and lefts, I will say it a bunch of times anyway. I would say, all right, we have this vessel here. We follow this vessel down. We can see it splits here. Here, I want you to identify what this vessel is called, right? And I would say, again, this is right side, this is left side, this is top, This is bottom. I would kind of do something like that and say, I want you to identify that vessel there. So that way you'd know, okay, well, he was showing us the one going over towards the right side, and that would be right common iliac artery. That's how I would do it. So I will frame the pictures for you to help you out a little bit. Okay, now if we follow down the common iliacs, then they're going to split into internal and external iliac. And the same thing's going to happen on both sides. We're going to follow this down on the right only because the sigmoid colon doesn't block us here on the right side. All right, so we come down. We can see, whoops, right here, here, and right there. Whoops. Get it? Let's hold this up. Sorry. To hold this a different way. This is a little floppy. Let's do it like that. There you go. Okay. So you can see common iliac here splitting like that. This one that I'm moving there is external iliac. That one down there is internal iliac. All right. So we can see that, and we can see it splitting like this: internal iliac, external iliac. Again, you can see that split right there. Okay, and then the only other thing you want to note here is where those things go. So you're going to note that external iliac stays more superficial and is going to come out on the anterior side of the thigh. Okay, and we're going to pick that up again second half of the semester after the midterm practical. Internal iliac, this guy, you can see it diving deep down kind of posteriorly, a little deeper, and that is going to come out in the gluteal region. So this guy, internal iliac, is going to emerge under your gluteal muscles. And we'll follow that after the midterm practical. All right, so that takes care of the arteries. Everything, arteries, we got all this stuff. Now, let me grab the vein picture. All right, I'll show you, I'll put it up onto the screen. If you guys have it, feel free to bring it out. And let me just really quickly give you a little overview. Here is your handout drawing for the abdominal artery. So all of this looks very similar with the exception of the loops. See, here are the loops going around the stomach. This is where the A prime, B prime fall into place. And that's because this picture is much more to scale. See, holding it like this is much more the way it really is in the body, more to scale. The other picture is elongated vertically. Now, because I didn't elongate it, that means that the stomach, all this stuff, actually sits right on top of all this stuff here. So it would kind of cover stuff. So I moved it out of the way. And that's where you have the A prime here, B prime there, right? It's just to move the stomach out of the way. That's really the only difference between the drawing we were just using and the one that's in your handouts. All right. And I just find, especially for on the video, it's a little more convenient to use the other one. Okay. Let's look at the veins. Right, so here's abdominal veins. And look at how we've seen most of these veins already. We already found the inferior vena cava. We already found the renal veins. We already found the gonadal veins. And I'm going to show it to you right now. We can see where the inferior vena cava splits into the same stuff that the arteries do, right and left common iliac veins, and then they come down and split into internal and external, just like the arteries. The only difference is right here, the veins do all of this deep to the arteries. So the abdominal aorta and its branchings are covering this area here. All right, so let's see all this stuff. So we come over here, and let's get the artery out of the way. All right, let's move this guy out of the way, like that. And here's the inferior vena cava. Right, left, common iliac veins. You see how it's happening underneath the arteries. And then I don't know if this will show up down here. No, it's a little too dark. Not going to be able to see it. But right here, this is splitting into internal and external veins. It's just because everything's a little discolored, you can't really see it. But it happens in the same spot right underneath of where the arteries happen. Veins are doing the same thing, right? But at least we can see the common iliac veins pretty well here. Right, left, common iliac, right? So we got all that. Follow this up. And remember, we already saw the gonadal veins. See, there's one of them. There's right gonadal vein. And why is this not? Sorry, it's not. There we go. Wasn't focusing properly. And then here is your left gonadal vein. Now notice the right gonadal vein, see how that drains directly into the vena cava right there. Left gonadal vein drains into left renal, then to the vena cava. And notice that that is exactly what is shown on your drawing here. Look at this. Right gonadal, right into the inferior vena cava. Left gonadal, left renal, then over. So you see how it's reflected on your drawing there. Okay, and that is pretty much everything that's on this drawing, right? But notice how there's a lot of stuff missing. Note there are missing veins on this drawing because it's not nearly as busy as the artery drawing, right? And that's because all the veins that touch your digestive system do not drain directly back to the inferior vena cava. They go through a detour. And that detour is called your portal drainage. So this will mean everything that goes from your colon, from your small intestines, from your coming in from your pancreas, from your spleen, from your stomach, all that stuff. So it means the gastric arteries, the gastromentals, the jejunals, the ileals, the ileocolic, the right colic, middle colic, left colic, pancreatic, duodenal, any of those things, right? All that stuff is going through a detour before it enters into the inferior vena cava. And that, again, is going to be your portal drainage system. And that brings us to the last drawing and the last thing that we're going to do. Right? And that is this guy. So you have this drawing. Portal drainage and common bile duct. So you see how we have two pictures of the liver here. This side is showing veins. That's the portal drainage. This side is showing a duct system, which is the common bile duct area. All right, so we're going to start on this side. We're going to look at the veins. Right? So what we're seeing here, and again, you should read all these notes. They're kind of explaining a little bit more in depth of what is going on here. Okay, but basically, everything that is even remotely digestive related is going to enter into the liver via this portal vein, filter through the liver, and then go to the vena cava and then back to the heart. So you can see all these dotted lines. These are all inside the liver that we're not going to see. So we can see the portal vein enters the liver, branches a whole bunch of times. It all collects into this hepatic vein here, into the inferior vena cava, back up to the heart. So we're not going to see the dotted stuff, but we will see these things. So note here that we have all of these guys entering into superior mesenteric vein. Then we have all this stuff entering into inferior mesenteric vein. Then we got the splenic vein coming over, and you see that splenic, inferior mesenteric, superior mesenteric, that all three of those things join together right there to form the portal vein. So this is the picture we want to see. We're not going to identify all these individual guys. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to worry about the big three. Splenic, inferior mesenteric, superior mesenteric forming portal. That's it. So in order to see this picture, we need to get to where we can find the pancreas. That's where we're going to see this. All right. So let's rearrange a little bit. So let's zoom out so we can see a bit better. Zoom back out, right? And we got to get back to where we can see the pancreas, which means all the small intestines need to come back down. So we're going to drag all this stuff, get it here, and drag all this back in, kind of like that. And then notice as soon as we lay that down, what do we see? Superior mesenteric vessels, right? Here's the artery, there's the vein next to it, okay? And that superior mesenteric vein, we're just going to see, we're going to follow this up a little farther. See how it goes up under here? This is where we're going to be, up in there. All right? So let's get the greater omentum back down, right? Like that. And let's get the stomach back down. So get everything back to where it was initially, kind of like that. Okay? Now, we're just going to reflect the stomach. And only the stomach. So let's tuck the stomach up out of the way like that. And we uncover now the pancreas, which is here. And what we're going to do is we're going to move the pancreas out of the way and look for these dark colored vessels that are located right underneath the pancreas. These guys. See the stuff that I'm lifting up there? Now I'm going to zoom in. Don't worry about it. It's just that we're going to know we're going to find the pancreas and we're going to move the pancreas out of the way. So let's zoom in on that area a bit. So let's get in here a little tighter. Something like that. Let's see if I can move this stuff around without affecting the autofocus. Oh, we're a little wobbly. Okay, so again, here is the pancreas. So we're going to move the pancreas out of the way. Boy, what am I hitting? Oh, my chest is hitting. Sorry, I'm like leaning in, I'm bumping the camera. All right, so let's see if I can do this. Here's the pancreas. We're going to get the pancreas up out of the way. So we're moving that out of the way. Now we expose some veins. And let's see if we can get a good, clean picture of these guys. And I think, all right, that has got to get cut. And this is, again, where we see some last-minute cleanup that's got to happen. And now I got to find my scissors. And let's get rid of these guys. That's blocking our picture a little bit. That's a little bit better. Something like that. Okay. So again, we got the pancreas would have covered this up. We moved the pancreas up out of the way. And here, I kind of get underneath like this. Let's lift this up a little bit. Let's get this guy over a little bit like that. And hopefully you guys can see these veins. That's pretty good, right? You can see that? So what you want to note is we got three major things here. This is going to be your splenic vein coming in this way, right? Coming in like this, that's splenic. Then we have inferior mesenteric vein, this guy, coming in here. And then we have superior mesenteric vein, this guy, coming in this way. And then all three of those things join together. See right here? See that? That bit where they all join together right there, up here, that is your portal vein. Okay? So the only difference here between your picture and what you're seeing is that on your drawing, inferior mesenteric vein drains into splenic first and then comes over. And on this particular body, they all just kind of join in at the same spot. So again, let's throw the drawing up here. Okay. So this is where we are, right here. And notice on your drawing, inferior mesenteric comes up like this into splenic. But on our drawing, or on our cadaver, it's coming in like right here. See? Just a little different. And that's normal. That's normal. Right? So again, we got superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric, splenic. 1, 2, 3. Join to form portal. Again, looking here. 1, 2, 3. Forming the portal vein up there. Superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric, splenic vein here. So what's the giveaway? How are we going to know what we're seeing here? You're going to note that I'm going to first, let's put this back down. And I know we're zoomed in, but it's all right. We should still be able to see. We're going to go, I'm going to take this, and you're going to go, ah, he's got the stomach. I'm going to reflect this. So he goes, ah, we reflected the stomach. What's the first thing you're saying when I reflect the stomach? You're going, now we've uncovered the pancreas and things around the pancreas, right? And then I go, well, now I'm going to take this. And I'm going to hold this guy, and you're going to go, oh, now he's got the pancreas. And I'm going to say, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to reflect that. And then you go, oh, well, if he reflected those two things, well, now the only possible thing he could be asking us about is portal drainage. Here, that's it. This is what we see when we move the stomach and the pancreas out of the way. And then it's going to be a portal vein question, right? And I'm going to be asking for one of those guys. And I would hold this up. Again, I would grab it like this. I would get under so we can kind of see it like that. And I would say, okay, see we got 1, 2, 3 things joining together right there. I want you to identify the first one or the second one or the third one, or I want you to tell me what it's called here after those 3 things have joined together up here. And that would be portal vein, right? So that's how I would ask it. So again, pay attention to what I'm doing. What am I moving? How am I positioning things? What does that allow you to see? If you can answer that question, you will have a much, much easier time in the abdomen. If you can't, you're going to be scrambling. to figure out what you're looking at in the abdomen. So I'm just forewarning you. You have to spend a little time, know where you are, what you're moving, and what you can see. All right. So last bit, let's zoom back out just a touch. We'll get this last picture here. And that is going to be the duct system over here. Sorry, a little swing. Probably making people motion sick by having this picture just sway back and forth a little bit. I keep on bumping it. I apologize. I'm leaning like way over the body and trying to show you stuff. It's a little hard. Okay, so here, duct system. Now what you're trying to see here is, and this explains what the duct system is. So we have bile getting formed in the liver. That bile is coming out via this common hepatic duct. Now that's a combination of these two guys, which is your right and left hepatic duct. We're not going to see that. We're just going to see common hepatic, which is why that's the only part I have labeled, right? So we got bile getting formed in the liver coming down through the common hepatic duct. That fills this whole thing up. So we got common hepatic, we got cystic coming out of the gallbladder, and we got common bile, one cystic and common hepatic joint. So you see we got this Y here, like that, right? So bile forms here, fills this up, and there's a little tiny sphincter at the end of this that's closed off most of the time. So the bile fills up here, then because this is closed and it can't enter the duodenum, it backs up into the gallbladder, and this is kind of our holding cell here, right? So we got that bile that the liver formed, ended up backing up into the gallbladder. The gallbladder concentrates the bile, it removes water, right? Then when we eat something fatty, this tiny little sphincter opens up, and we're going to get some fresh bile, but mostly the concentrated bile out of the gallbladder is going to be allowed to move down into the duodenum. And then what joins with that? Things in the pancreatic duct here, which is formed in the pancreas, would be like digestive enzymes and stuff. That gets mixed in with the bile, and then that all goes down into the duodenum. So we want to see how these things join together. So we're not going to be able to see the pancreatic duct. And it says here, it's inside the pancreas. We can only see it if we cut the pancreas in half. And for illustrative purposes on this particular body, I think it's going to cause more harm than good to cut the pancreas. Right now with the pancreas intact, you guys can see it well. If I cut it, it's much harder to see, so I'm not going to do that, right? But we could cut it and you would see an opening on the inside of the pancreas. But I'm not going to do that, again, because I think on video it's going to look bad, all right? But that comes in, and then what we will see is this Y right here. We're going to see the common bile duct getting formed by common hepatic and cystic. Now note that in our dissection here, I broke the cystic duct off the gallbladder. My fault, was tugging on things a little bit too much and it broke. So that's why all that bile was leaking out over there, is because we kind of broke this. But I'm going to kind of hold it in place for us. So we're going to look for this. Now, if we want to see this, what position the things need to be in? The stomach and the greater omentum need to be down. So we need to be in our initial position in order to see this. All right. So let's grab the stomach. And let's get the stomach down. Greater omentum's already down. Stomach's down. We're going to get that liver up out of the way there. And we're going to look over here. Now I'm pulling this down so we can see the gallbladder. Right there, you can see right where that break is. Look at this. Right there. See it? There. And there. See that? That's where it broke. So let's just zoom in a little so that it focuses there a little bit better. And I really almost barely need to do anything here. Actually, we're just gonna, sorry, come over here to let that swing. There we go. I pretty much just got it without even touching this thing here. It's just right there, right there. See that? There, like that. We can see that pretty good. Maybe I'll sneak in. Maybe I can do this. Come on, you. Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah. All right. There we go. Right there. That's the Y. So this part is the common bile duct coming down out of the liver. This part is the cystic duct, which again you can see right here, right there. It broke off from the gallbladder. So let me move this down. There we go. Get this out of the way. It's all gonna. I don't want to stay, right? Everything gonna flop back in. Gotta like race against time here because it's gonna come back in again on us. So we got there. Oh, man. Totally messes up. All right, and you can see like one little bit of fascia still holding that together, but you see where that broke, right? So that's coming out of the gallbladder. So that's cystic. So I'm holding cystic there. There's common hepatic, cystic, and then where they join together right there, common bile. All right, those would be the duct systems there. And again, note that on the practical, I am going to say, this is a duct question. This is an artery question. This is a vein question. This is a nerve question. This is a muscle question. This is a movement question. I'm going to categorize the question so you're not like, oh my God, is he holding up an artery there or a vein or a duct? I can't tell. I'm going to say, this is an artery. This is a vein. This is a duct. If you guys were in person, I would not give you that extra information, but it would be much, much, much easier for you to pick out the differences if you were here in person versus doing it on video. So because of that, I do give you that benefit of the doubt and tell you what type of question it's going to be. Okay, so that's it. That is everything that is going to be on the first practical except for that opening of the cranium video that I'm going to link to as soon as we're done. I'm going to post up today's lecture or today's lab, and I'm also going to post up a link to that opening of the cranium video. So you need to watch that before the practical, but you got the rest of the week. So you got plenty of time. It's not very long. It's only like a half an hour, maybe 35 minutes. Not long, and it's done well. It's probably the best video I've ever done. Well, it's certainly the one that has the most views, but that's not necessarily because it's the best. That's just because of the algorithms of YouTube by some weird thing that it just got featured, right? But it is done really well. It's point of view, so it's exactly the same way we're doing stuff now where the camera's being held as if you were standing there looking at it. And it goes over the fully taking the brain out from beginning to end. So watch that. I'm just going to pick out a couple of questions out of there. If you've watched the video, you will get the questions right. They're going to be simple questions, all right? Like naming one of the meningeal layers around the brain, which you're going to see and I'm going to talk about extensively. Something like that. It'll be something that I won't necessarily need to show you it, right? But I can ask you a question about it. So a couple questions, not anything to worry about. It's going to amount to, let's just say, I'll do 2 to 3 questions, right? Very limited, but it'll be something if you've watched the video, you will be able to answer. All right? What else? I think that's it. So make sure the practical is on Monday. All right? Make sure you guys come on to a help session this afternoon or contact me. Text is the best way. Ask for extra help. I will hold as many help sessions as we need between now and Monday. As you review more, as you take the quizzes, hopefully you'll have some questions, and then you can contact me and we'll set up a review and we'll go over them. All right, I'll combine them if I can. Otherwise, I'll be doing one-on-ones. That's fine. All right, so we'll stay on for a second if you guys have any questions now. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you for the